welcome. You're watching the Newshour Agenda, India's most loved primetime show at 10. I'm Padmaja Joshi. In battleground Gujarat, a fresh fight has now been reignited over the legacy of Sardar Patel versus Pandit Nehru. The issuers of Kashmir and both the Congress and BJP are eyeballing each other on the question of who left the Kashmir issue unresolved. The sparring between the two parties started with the Prime Minister's address in Anand. While paying tribute to the son of Gujarat, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the Prime Minister credited him ensuring the merger of princely states with India. Then, without naming Pandit Nehru, he blamed one person who could not resolve the Kashmir issue. Soon after, the Congress released a fact check quoting from a book by Rajmohan Gandhi. Its communication chief, Jairam Ramesh, said that it's the then ruler of Kashmir, Maharaja Hari Singh, who deterred on the question of accession. And if anything, it was Nehru's friend, Sheikh Abdullah, who championed Kashmir's integration with India because of his respect for Nehruji. Then came a counter fact check or an expose by Union Minister Kiran Rijiju. He quoted from Pandit Nehru's own speech in Parliament to say that the Congress is peddling a historical lie that Maharaja Hari Singh was not ready to accede to India. This lie has gone on for far too long in order to protect the dubious role. What Rijiju said is the dubious role of Jawaharlal Nehru. The issue is a contested one and has raised its head periodically, given how Kashmir, especially POK, remains a festering sore in India's history and on its conscience. So who today can claim Kashmir as a legacy and who is lying?
You're watching the News Hour at 10. Debate number 1 on Times Now. Super Prime Time.
All right, at the beginning, we are going to be quoting from actual sources which have been offered from both sides. So let's stay away from the rhetoric. That's a humble request to all the speakers. Let's begin. Sanju Verma, national spokesperson of the BJP, historian and author Hindol Sengupta, leader of the Congress, Kamar Zaman Chaudhary. And my first question is to author Sanjay Jha, because what Kiran Rijiju has quoted is a speech by Nehruji himself, where he says, and I quote, "We made it clear that even if the Maharaja and his government then wanted to accede to India, we would like something much more. That is, popular approval of it before we took that step. We did not wish by some clever tactics to gain something on paper." How would you say, Sanjay Jha, that this does not bear out the allegation that the Maharaja was ready to be a part of India? It's Nehruji who left it hanging, and we have a mess on our hands.
Padmaja, very quickly, we are dealing here with history, and fortunately, most of it is recorded. The problem is when political parties do cherry picking. Now, I'll tell you why Kiran Rijiju has added, unfortunately, to the entire distribution of what I call as the BJP fake manufacturing news production. Simple fact is, and anybody who reads history will know, that Maharaja Hari Singh never wanted accession to both India and Pakistan. He actually wanted independence. That is the hard reality. We got to live with that. And the truth is that until, Pakistan obviously, being insecure and overreacting because it was very much aware that Sheikh Abdullah did not like the Muslim League. He was extremely popular in Kashmir. And there was this whole fear that it is a majority Muslim state with a Hindu ruler. And we all know that there was, again, the Hyderabad problem that India was battling with. In the circumstances when the Pathan tribesmen from Pakistan, supported by the Pakistan military, when they went as close as to Srinagar, there was panic. And I think Lord Mountbatten's relationship with Pandit Nehru was well known. And I think that was one of the preconditions for getting Indian military support. And I don't want to get into details, but VP Menon went across, inspected the whole situation. And it is very important to point this out. This has got nothing to do with Sardar Patel or Pandit Nehru being on opposite sides. They were part of the same defense committee that took a call. Now, leaders can have a difference of opinion, but all of them had the national sovereignty as a priority. So eventually, Padmaja, just to wrap it up very quickly, the truth is that the instrument of accession was signed because that was a precondition to India supporting Maharaja Hari Singh's, the Kashmir, and ensuring that it was not going to be ravaged and, completely destructed by the very violent forces from Pakistan.
Okay, Sanju Verma, instrument of accession was always something that Indian politicians, Indian freedom fighters wanted. Nehruji and Sardar Patel included. It's just that they had a difference of opinion on the details, which you are trying to now project as some great disharmony. Sanju Verma.
You know, Padmaja, okay. I heard Sanjay Jha. You know, Padmaja, I noticed one thing. You might think I'm making a mountain out of a molehill. I noticed you kept addressing Sardar Patel as Sardar Patel, but Nehru as Nehru Ji. Anyway, coming to the more important point, you know, I'll just say this. I think, you know, there are two things, Padmaja, to this we have to understand. A, as Kiran Rijiju said, not only did, you know, Nehru reject Maharaja Hari Singh's initial request for accession to the Indian Union in July 1947, because by then it was decided that, you know, a formal declaration of independence was to be announced on 15th of August 1947. But even in October 1947, Nehru finally agreed on the 27th of October 1947 when he was pushed to the wall, and I'm reading out from an excerpt of Nehru's speech which he gave in Parliament on the 24th of July 1952, where he says that the appeals from the Maharaja for help and for accession to India could no longer be ignored. And after anxious consideration and to think out the implications, etc., we finally realized we could not say no to that appeal and that we had to go there to help them. I just want to ask, as Kiran Rijiju has rightly said, Nehru in his speech on 24 July 1952 kept repeating that, you know, Jammu and Kashmir, it's a special case. As Kiran Rijiju points out, what was so special about Kashmir? Also, Nehru repeatedly says that, you know, let us not be tricked by some clever approval on paper.
Okay.
There is something much more that we need to discuss. What is this much more that Nehru wanted to discuss? But beyond Nehru's semantics, you know, Jairam Ramesh has quoted Rajmohan Gandhi. Through your channel and through your show, Padmaja, I want to ask Jairam Ramesh, have you read history books of independent, pre-independent and post-independent India written by many historians? There are works of R.K. Mukherjee, R.C. Majumdar, Bipin Chandra, P.N. Chopra, you know, K.R. Malkani. I have not read all of them, but I have read a lot of them. And the most interesting bit is this. When Jairam Ramesh not only wants to give disproportionate credit to Jawaharlal Nehru and to Sheikh Abdullah, but he tries to undermine Sardar Patel's achievements, because note what he has written at the end of his thread.
Okay.
He says Sardar Patel was okay with J&K, with Kashmir going to Pakistan, just like Junagadh decided to go with Pakistan. But I want to make a small correction here. Junagadh decided initially to go with Pakistan, but it was thanks to Sardar Patel via a mix of military offensive and diplomacy that finally Junagadh, which is modern day Kathiawar region of Gujarat, in February-March 1948, that finally became a part of the Indian Union.
Okay.
And thanks to Sardar Patel, just 10 seconds, Padmaja, you know, thanks to Sardar Patel, that under Operation Polo, also called Operation Caterpillar,
okay,
the erstwhile state of Hyderabad finally acceded to India, despite the erstwhile Nawab of Hyderabad, Mir Osman Ali Khan, not wanting to do so.
Okay, so let me bring in a historian now that we are talking about issues of history, and to make it very clear, to call someone Ji and to refer to someone as Sardar are both supposed to be terms of honoring them and out of respect. So there is no disrespect intended to either. Hindol Sengupta, did Nehruji stand in the way of Maharaja Hari Singh acceding? Did Sardar Patel push for it and was thwarted, or does the truth lie somewhere in between?
Thanks, Padmaja. As the only person in your panel who's actually written a biography of Sardar Patel, may I just say that the truth is far more complex than any of these people are trying to make it sound. The truth is, for most parts, before Maharaja Hari Singh acceded to India, for most parts, Maharaja Hari Singh and the Kashmiri Pandit community were in direct communication with Patel, and they had grave concerns about what would happen to them under Sheikh Abdullah, and indeed what exactly was Sheikh Abdullah's dealings with Pandit Nehru. All of this is well documented in the letters and notifications of Sardar Patel. Now, the point here is that it is true that Sardar Patel's main concern was Hyderabad for a long time. But once the Junagadh incident happened, Sardar Patel is on record saying that we will defend Kashmir no matter what. That, we keep talking about, and I even tweeted about this, Kiran Rijiju mentioned this fateful day in October 1947, when the final decision to send the army to Kashmir takes place. Bakshi Ghulam Muhammad, the aide of Sheikh Abdullah, who actually owes allegiance completely to Sheikh Abdullah, has a clear notification in his diary where he notes what happened that day. And he says that there was an air of complete irresponsible despondency and nobody wanted to take a decision, including Sheikh Abdullah, Pandit Nehru, Lord Mountbatten. Finally, the man who took the decision to send the army to rescue Kashmir, fight back against the invaders, was Sardar Patel. All of this is documented. Nobody can deny this. This is documented evidence. To suggest that Sardar Patel callously wanted to give away Kashmir is a false hope. The truth is more complicated. It is true that Pandit Nehru had a particular affinity for Kashmir, indeed had a particular friendship with Sheikh Abdullah, and Sardar Patel had a particular friendship with Maharaja Hari Singh. This had been going on for a long time. I want to conclude by saying one thing. Kashmir was a bone of contention between these two men. And I always say these two men were very close, but this was a great bone of contention. So that before Gandhiji's assassination, Kashmir was the point which broke these two men to such an extent that they both wanted to resign from the first government of India. All of this is also well documented. So let's take the whole thing in perspective.
Absolutely. And that's the reason why your voice is very important. That being said, to defend the legacy of Pandit Nehru is one thing, but to try and run down Sardar Patel and say Qamar Zaman Chaudhary that he was ready to give away Junagadh he was ready to give away Kashmir till the point that Junagadh happened. And that is when suddenly he had a renewed interest. Why would you want to insult one of our top leaders to defend the other? And they were both congressmen. It's not like Sardar Patel was from the BJP.
No, Padmaja, you have... the basic point is that here whatever we are discussing here, we are trying to twist history to suit a particular political agenda out here. You cannot idolize Sardar Patel and vilify Nehruji out here. The simple reason being there were 500 princely states in India, in pre-independence India, out of which Junagadh happened to be one, Kashmir happened to be one, Hyderabad was one, and very important aspect.
You cannot glorify Nehruji and vilify Sardar Patel.
No, it is never true.
Exactly.
No, we have to glorify both of them. They are
exactly, but that's not happening. Let me actually quote to you from what was put out by the Congress party as a fact check, where he has said, Mr. Jairam Ramesh has said, and I quote, Sardar Patel was okay with J&K joining Pakistan till September 13, 1947, when the Nawab of Junagadh acceded to Pakistan. And Hindol Sen Gupta, his biographer, says that is patently false. Sardar Patel was never okay with J&K being taken away by Pakistan.
No, you are misquoting facts from the piece, from the history, ma'am. You must first go to the fact that a States Department was formed in 1930, wherein Sardar Patel was heading that panel with Mr. Menon, VP Menon.
Sir, you
was acting as the secretary.
I'm not even going there about the States panel. I'm asking you a simple question.
Indian Union.
Mr. Jairam Ramesh has said, and I quote, Sardar Patel was okay with J&K joining Pakistan till September 13, 1947. Is that true, in your opinion?
That's a different issue altogether.
How is that a different issue?
Patel,
To suggest,
Nehru, Lord Mountbatten,
that Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel was callously giving away Kashmir to Pakistan is sacrilege.
Padmaja?
It was never the case like that. When the Maharaja Hari Singh wanted an independent state of Kashmir, it was Jawaharlal Nehru.
But if that is not the case, why would you put it out?
Kashmir to be part
why
of
would
the
you
Indian
put out
Union.
such facts which are not borne out by our lived history?
Exactly.
Why would you put out such facts? How many people would actually go back and check? When you consider the entire accession history of these princely unions to the Indian Union, then why do you want to conveniently forget the role of Jawaharlal Nehru ji in amalgamating all those princely states? What about the Surma Valley of Assam? Gopinath Bordoloi ji, the ex-Prime Minister of Assam before pre-independence, he did not want the Sylhet district of Assam to be part of India. But it was Jawaharlal Nehru ji who went there. Abdul Muttalib Mazumdar, he was a congressman. They amalgamated the Sylhet district into the Indian Union.
Okay,
why do you
every
forget
political
that part
party,
of the
Sanju Verma,
when you
cherry
speak
picks
about
what
Kashmir,
suits their
it
narrative.
was always Jawaharlal Nehru.
Okay. I heard him, Padmaja. I heard him. Thank you. Padmaja, you know, whether we decide to quote Rajmohan Gandhi as Jairam Ramesh has chosen to do, or whether you want to believe what Sanju Verma says by quoting P.N. Chopra or Bipin Chandra, that is not material. As Hindon Sengupta said, there are some things which are either black or white, there is no grey. And I just want to tell you that the link which Kiran Rijiju has posted on Twitter and has Nehru's entire speech with respect to Kashmir and related issues pertaining to accession. Nehru also telegrammed Liaquat Ali Khan when this entire Junagadh controversy was spiraling out of control, where he said that we have pointed out to you previously that final decision should be made by means of either referendum or plebiscite. We would be glad to discuss this question and applied matters affecting Junagadh with representatives of your government at the earliest possible moment convenient to you. I'm reading out ad verbatim from Nehru's telegram to Liaquat Ali Khan. The point I'm making is Nehru was in the mood to actually have a dialogue with respect to Junagadh. He wanted a plebiscite. He wanted a referendum, despite the fact, Padmaja, that Junagadh was a Hindu majority state then ruled by a Muslim from the Babi dynasty. Had it not been for Sardar Patel's military offensive combined with diplomatic offensive, Junagadh eventually in
Sanjay Jha,
this is not a question
Sanjay Jha, it goes beyond Kashmir.
India.
Maharaja was
Sanjay Jha, let him respond, please.
Padmaja, there are history and we should not allow that to be distorted. So let me just tell you the critical point. Maharaja Hari Singh, and by the way, there are multiple historians and I have read many eminent ones in the past, so I'm going to quote them liberally. Maharaja Hari Singh was suspicious of getting himself becoming part of India because India was becoming democratic and India would be taking, not a very kindly, shall we say, predilection towards the princely states. And out there, everyone knows that as far as Mr. Jinnah was concerned, he was openly threatening Maharaja Hari Singh, and that is also on record. So basically, he wanted independence. He was not keen to be part of the Indian territory. Let's accept that. I mean, end of day, these were triggered events that forced his hand into signing the instrument of accession. Now, why I'm particularly disappointed with the BJP spokesperson here, and this needs to be said, that given the fact that this founders and many of their ideologues had zero contribution in India's freedom struggle, it's rich for them to come on a TV show and present a biased and a prejudiced perspective. And it's so incomplete and therefore your viewer will get confused. Let me tell you this, Padmaja, when there are different leaders of a political party, they all have a different opinion at times.
Okay, quick 20-second rebuttal, Sanju Verma. I want to bring in Hindol Sengupta after that. Quick 20-second rebuttal.
Padmaja, my limited rebuttal is this, that we, the BJP or the RSS does not need an integrity certificate from a suspended leader of the Congress party on what the RSS or BJP's contributions have been. My limited point is, it is publicly documented that Sardar Patel made an invaluable contribution in ensuring that 565 princely states
that is and fact. Nobody is taking that away. But finally, let me ask you, Hindol Sengupta, is it as stark as that to say that the integration was done by Sardar Patel and Pandit Nehru did nothing at all, in fact, ran in the opposite direction? Is it as stark as that?
No, it cannot be as stark as that. No one with any real academic bent of mind would say it's as stark as that. However, please let me say this. No one with any real reading of the primary material would ever claim that anybody but Sardar Patel was at the forefront of bringing these princely states together. If you read Maniben Patel's diaries from that time, day after day, Maniben Patel notes how hour by hour different Maharajas, different princely states, their representatives, their divans were in regular negotiation with Patel. Many of these princely states would have perhaps never joined India or created real difficulty for India had it not been for Patel. Please remember, the only person that the princely states were really scared of was Patel. There's this famous story, Padmaja, and this is where, please give me 10 seconds to mention this. There was a famous Maharaja who put a gun to the head of Sardar Patel's emissary, who took the accession papers to him. And the emissary told him that, well, you can shoot me, but you still have to talk to the Sardar. And that's when he put down the gun and signed the papers. The only person a lot of these people were scared of was Sardar Patel. So you cannot deny, nobody can deny that Sardar Patel was the primary person who brought India together, all these princely states, British India, and without him, this task either couldn't have been done or would have been very bloody and messy. This is undeniable.
All right, let's just leave it at that. Let's have the historian take the last word in a debate about history, and it's been a very contested one. My bet is going into battleground Gujarat, this is going to get sharper, given that there are still many claimants to the legacy of Sardar Patel, the towering figure from Gujarat. Thanks very much, all gentlemen. Sanju Verma for joining me.